Hi, everyone, and welcome to this segment in our Slate demo series, UTM Basics for Better Slate Campaigns. My name is Sarah Storey, and I will be your presenter today. I'm a Slate communication strategist here at Carnegie. I've been with Carnegie since 2023, but have experience working within Slate since 2020, and my persona is the curious and caring host. Today, we will cover four main topics: defining exactly what UTM codes are, learning more about their parameters, exploring different use cases and how to track them, and then we'll go ahead and finish out with some overall best practices. So let's start out by diving in and discussing what exactly UTMs are and how they help us within a campaign. So first and foremost, what does UTM stand for? While commonly addressed by the acronym, UTM actually stands for Urchin Tracking Module. And these codes are short text snippets that are added into URLs to help track marketing campaign performance. These essentially help marketers determine where traffic is coming from and keep track of effective communication. By using UTM codes properly, marketers can track performance, optimize campaigns, and improve ROI. Truly, UTMs are everywhere, from links within social media posts to ads to websites and emails. UTMs are a foundational tool quietly working in the background to engage and track engagement and overall user behavior. So, why use UTM codes? There are a few reasons why it is helpful to use these codes within your messaging. UTMs are able to track accurate attribution by allowing us to learn what sources generate highest traffic and improve overall campaign tracking by measuring the effectiveness of each campaign. Additionally, UTMs can help provide a better return on investment by gathering what channels generate the highest conversions, as well as provide enhanced Google Analytics data by gaining a larger understanding of overall user behavior. So next we'll talk a little bit about UTM parameters. There are 5 standard UTM parameters that you can typically use for web analytics. While only our first 3 parameters are required, we recommend utilizing all 5 in order to keep data clean and effective. Our first parameter is known as source, which identifies where the traffic originated from. This will track the overall platform, such as something like Facebook, LinkedIn, or in our case, Slate. Next, we have medium, which allows us to track the type of traffic, meaning did a user engage through an email or a social media post or perhaps a referral. Our third parameter is known as campaign, which tracks the specific campaign the interaction came from, such as a senior search campaign or a summer promotional. These first 3 parameters are required and essential for your tracking or analyzing UTMs. However, there are 2 additional parameters, term and content, that can be helpful to utilize, giving you the ability to track more granularly. UTM term will track the overall theme or say keywords within your content, while UTM content allows you to track differing links or ads within the same campaign. So let's take a look at how these can actually be used within a Slate mailing. This is an example of a standard Carnegie naming convention for an application generation campaign. To add UTMs to any mailing, you simply need to navigate to your large edit button in the top right corner of your mailing and ensure that UTMs are enabled. Here, you can see that we've used Carnegie Slate as our source to help differentiate between any internal mailings a school may be using under a general Slate source name. Many times within a Slate communications campaign, your medium will be listed as an email. We've populated our campaign section by identifying that this email was part of our larger AppGen campaign. Content then helps keep track of which emails perform better than others by naming with a simple numbering system. Finally, our term helps us understand at a large glance what the overall theme or call to action was within this email. These can differentiate and change, however, we do still recommend keeping kind of a list or tracking of general namings that you use for different email campaigns. Now that we've broken down what a UTM is and what each parameter looks like, we can now discuss where these can be utilized and how to track these within Slate. While we tend to use UTMs most heavily within an email campaign, you can utilize these within social media posts and ads, paid search ads, links within blogs or partnerships, or even within print marketing. On the top, we have an example of a general UTM traced link. Here you will find the overall page we're directing to, students with the UTM parameters separated by these ampersands here. So at this top link, we're seeing students are being directed to an Apply Now page within an App Gen campaign, within that first email, through that source of Carnegie Slate with an overall theme of applying. Below, you'll find two different examples of tracking links specific to a print piece. So in this example, we have differentiated the content parameter to track both a vanity link URL and a QR code included on the same postcard. So we are able to track and see how students engaged even when not posted directly within Slate. So this top URL tells us that the user arrived from an underclassmen search postcard through the use of a vanity link, while this bottom example arrived by scanning a QR code included on the postcard. By separating and including differing language for this content, we are now able to track how many students engaged with a search landing page by scanning the QR code as opposed to those who physically typed out the link included on the postcard. This allows us to track and understand user behavior and why a student may be interested or what medium works best for them, even within a print piece. While these examples do represent a majority of our possibilities when tracking and overall the power of tracking these codes, there can be limitations when tracking through UTMs. For example, if we are linking out to an applicant portal where a student is required to log in, that URL will change once the student has been logged in, effectively eliminating the possibility of tracking that movement through UTMs. So while there are a lot of capabilities and powers here, there are sometimes limitations. So ultimately, how do we measure and gather this data within Slate? This is a piece that can be easily added to reports or can be gathered in a simple quick query. In order to access UTM data, you must first join to the ping base. Once joined, you will have access to these following filters where you can then narrow down based on UTM term. You can easily add or delete these out depending on what you're wanting to track. You could track the overall success of a campaign by seeing what the overall engagement looked like with only tracking, say, the source and campaign. Or you can measure the impact, say, email number 7 had on students within a specific yield campaign by utilizing content and some of these other sources here. Next, we'll dive into best practices. So overall, be consistent. Standardize those naming conventions to avoid any messy data, especially if you're working with multiple counselors or staff members who may be creating different mailings. It's great to be consistent and kind of utilize a specific naming convention to make sure that you're keeping track across the board. Make sure to utilize dashes or underscores. Spaces do break URLs, so utilizing those dashes or underscores will make sure that your UTMs function as needed. Keep it short and readable. Long UTMs can be overwhelming and ultimately may get cut off in the process, so keep it short and sweet. Make sure to avoid special characters, so stick to that alphanumeric characters to prevent any kind of errors, especially since UTM links are traced through that by connecting through ampersands. And ultimately, if you need help as well, you can use a UTM builder. Google Analytics does have a UTM builder that you can utilize to help create structured UTM links to get you started throughout the process. Overall, that's just a brief overview on UTMs and how to use them within your Slate campaigns. Thank you so much for joining me today. Feel free to reach out with any questions and happy campaigning.